He's a champion at Supercross and Motocross, but it's his first A1 win. Joe Shimoda wins in A1.
This is the start I was looking for every single year.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Title 24, presented by NBC Sports. It's the Monday after A1, all this anticipation and build up. It was RV. It was wild, like it always is. Before we get going, thank our sponsors, United Motorsports, Quad Lock, Boxo, Dunlop. You guys are awesome. We appreciate all the support. A1 in the books. I'm kind of glad it's over a little bit, RV. It was wild. There were some things there that I wasn't expecting. No doubt about that. Your biggest, like some of your takeaways before we get into too many details, like what was there anything that was like, wow, I didn't expect that?
Well, I mean, Anaheim one's always lots of hype around it, like we've talked before. But loaded. The stadium was packed. The pits were packed. The turnout was amazing. Lots of hype around it. I think right off the top, obviously we pre-show to the season. We highlighted guys like Eli, Sexton, Levi, Haiden. And it was a little bit of I wouldn't call it an upset, but wasn't what we were all expecting. So I think from the fan standpoint, it was great racing. I thought the track was good. We had awesome weather, and then I'll just gonna plug the 4:30 start time. I dug the 4:30 start time back home pretty early. Obviously included all of the East Coast community, racing community being able to watch it too, right? So
game changer.
It really is. I think it's great that we're that we're starting at 4:30, at least on the West Coast side, right? So that everybody's included, and I think the racers are even happy about that too.
Dude, yeah, it was nice. Yeah, I didn't even think of that. I mean, I kind of took it for granted, but yeah, I think it's a massive plus to, like you already mentioned it, the people and our viewers on the East Coast, because it can get a late night, especially if you have like younger kids.
Yep.
I think last year it made a massive impact on the viewership. I think it's going to continue to do that, and people can get in their routine, and they always know it's going to start at 8 p.m. Eastern for the most part. So that I love that. Hey, we got something really cool for the viewers, just everyone in this motocross community, up on the Motorsports on NBC's YouTube page. We have a new community poll that they're going to be doing every Sunday. We're going to show you, and it's pretty cool. So you go to the Motorsports on NBC's YouTube page, as you guys can see right here if you're watching on the screen, and you go over and you see where it says community there on your right-hand side. You go and you click on community. And when you do that, each Sunday, scroll on down, we're going to have a poll. And it's like the topics this week in RV. I want to get your answer. The question this week was, what was the most surprising result from 2025 Supercross round 1 at Anaheim? And so as you can see on the screen, you're going to have options. This week is Joe Shimoda's early season win, Haiden Deegan's bad start and his comeback, Jett Lawrence's odd ride for 12, and Chase Sexton's new flawless win, or near flawless win, excuse me. So I'll tell you what I picked after you picked. So what was your biggest surprise leaving A1?
I mean, there's a lot on there, actually. I think there's 3 that stand out to me. Obviously, going off of Joe's previous seasons and 2 of the previous seasons with his slow start.
Yeah. Which one you taking, dude? Which one?
Well, I am gonna take probably Joe. So let's Aaron, let's see what our poll is there on Joe. 20% was from the fans' perspective. Obviously, Jett 56% was the biggest surprise. Second to that, I would say Chase coming in. That was a surprise.
I took Jets, and also if you guys think that we missed some, put your comments in there. I mean, we're not always going to get it right, but some engagement for you guys. Hopefully you enjoy that. But again, it's we just showed you how to do it. It's going to be every Sunday. We're going to be posting that. And,
I think that's really cool. And I think I mean, from the fans' perspective, Eli, they were talking about Eli's performance should have been the biggest surprise from the fans' perspective. They were hammering us on those questions. And what about Eli's ride? Eli rode a phenomenal ride too.
He did.
But yeah, I think that's cool that we can engage the fans and drive them over to the NBC's website and get that polling going. I like to look at those polls. It's kind of interesting.
Well, it's cool because you can, and it's funny, like the different, how so many people have different opinions. Like for me, it was Jett. And the reason that it was Jett, and that was the biggest surprise for a couple reasons. I expected him to be a lot better than he was, for sure. Especially when he went down. He didn't really make up a lot of time, especially considering how well Eli rode, like you're just talking about Eli's ride and how far he came back. So I would have expected Jett to do exactly the same thing in right there. And he didn't really progress forward like the talent level should have. He has so much talent. He's so fast. So that's why it didn't stand out. That's why that was the biggest standout to me. I think Joe is capable of doing what he did. He just hasn't done it. Hasn't done it yet. And then all the other options. So I just felt like Jett stood out the most to me. And I will tell you, as far as Chase goes, I think, and you think, I would think that you think that he can ride like that. Like that. That's not really surprising to me what Chase did. I mean, the guy's fast, right?
Yep.
He's a great rider. He can put rides in like that. So that's why his near flawless win wasn't a surprise to me, because I know what he's capable of.
Yeah.
Before we get into Sexton and tackling the 450, I think that the two best guys were Chase and Eli. It was a bummer to see Eli crash. It would have been awesome to see those two guys battle to the end and really duke it out and go back and forth. It would have been interesting to see how that played out. I think Eli's in a great spot, dude. I think he's riding well. I think he's in tune. He looks comfortable. And, what did you think of Eli overall, even though he laid it down in the first lap there?
So I was able to be there all day, got there, I think around 9:30 in the morning, watched practices, time qualifying. I think it was session 2 or 3 that they were swapping from, first, second, and third. It was Eli to the top of the board, Chase to the top of the board, Jett to the top of the board, Eli back to the top of the board. So what I was really intrigued with, in time qualifying was, we know Jett typically puts her up on top of the board a handful of times throughout the season, majority of the time. Same with Chase. Chase is a good hot lap, is able to throw a good hot lap down, put himself in a good position leading into the night show. But that typically in the past hasn't been Eli's strength of coming out on top or within 1 or 2 tenths of those top guys in time qualifying. So right there, to me, when I saw that, and then it wasn't just a fluke, it was multiple of the time qualifying and throughout the day of the practices. He was right there within 1 to 2 tenths fighting for that top position, leaving time qualifying. So to me, that got me excited that we were going to have a great night of racing on our hands. And we did. Obviously, Eli pushing the front, going what that would have been turn 4. Up over that tabletop that they were rolling up right here. We're watching. He goes inside and he just comes in hot, pushes that front wheel, just asks too much out of the front tire. That is one thing that we can do. As you can see, he jumped across the corner a little bit, and as soon as he landed that tire, it's just, you're on the edge of the tire so much, and you're asking so much from those Dunlop tires. Sometimes they just give away. It's not necessarily
and they had did a little track work right there, so it was a little marbly and it's hard to see. And I think he just broke right through that. It looked like it was good, but underneath that layer, boom, right there. And then you could see it was greasy and shiny after he had pushed that layer of dirt off of it. Oh.
Yep. So the what ifs, he was leading, lap 1, and obviously we watched Chase kind of run over him there fairly softly. Obviously didn't, tried to get over him without hurting him. But the ride that he put in through, the rest of the main event, from last to all the way, it was a really strong ride. Salvaged a ton of points. Obviously, one of his main competitors being Jett finished 12th. Obviously, and then their third competitor Chase, being that he won. Here we're looking at this points of the standings right now is Chase for the win, Kenny second, Jason Anderson third, Cooper fourth, Eli fifth. So I think that was a very, very strong ride. Got inside the top 10. He's sitting 8 points down. So great position, great point standing, great position to be in. Leaving Anaheim 1, obviously healthy, knows the speeds there. The bike to me looked like it was working well. So I think he's sitting in a great position right now going into round 2 at San Diego.
Do you put a lot of merit into A1, and after everything that went down with where that HRC 450's at, where Jett's at, what the Eli's ride, Kenny's ride, Anderson's ride, like, is it a true representation of how every single race is going to go this year, or do you put a lot of merit in what you saw?
I mean, look, you got to take, you definitely have to take some of it and look at it and say, okay, this is, obviously we got our top guys. And I felt like this year there wasn't a ton of surprises at Anaheim 1, I didn't think that guys were completely off. Now, obviously Jett kind of stands out in that regard. Mm-hmm. I think this is something that he's gonna, a hurdle that he'll have to deal with is being in the position that he's in, winning basically every championship that he's contended with from when he turned pro. Mm-hmm. We've talked about this previous shows is the pressure that by winning everything that he's won and trying to keep that going, no matter how mentally strong you are, and you've set the bar previous season. So Jett or a Hunter, Eli, Chase, they know where that bar is set. Yep. So, there is a part of you, like, I know it happened to me. Like, when is that time going to be that I lose, let's call it.
I was same. It's like, okay, they figured it out.
Yeah. And it starts to seep in slowly, and you try to keep it at bay, mm-hmm. but sometimes it's a little bit hard. It just brings a whole another set of another set of things you have to deal with and mentally deal with and think about. Where guys like Eli, he lost. Guys like Chase, he lost. So their only option is to win, right? They were a loser last year. So now they're putting their sole focus on winning. Now Jett's sole focus is winning, but also not losing, right? That championship. So it's kind of twofold for him, where everybody else, it's just one. They know where they're going. They know their goal. They know the trajectory where they need to get. So I think it's easier racing from second than it is being in Jett's position right now.
Yeah. It's I personally think that San Diego is going to be a little bit different. I think it's I think as we get on into the series, things are going to change a little bit. So although I'm super impressed with some things that I saw at A1, I still there's just still so much that is going to be left to play out. And I'm excited. I'm excited to see how it does. And this is what so get into the little Dunlop debate right here. This is a great question. And I know it's going to tick some people off, but Logan Schultz 24 asks, Sexton is fast, but what will he look like if Tomac and Jett are on his tail? And I think that, and not to take anything away from Kenny, I thought Kenny did an awesome job. I thought Anderson rode well in the mix. I loved it. And I'm not surprised by that, because those guys are talented as heck, man. They're awesome racers. But what does that look like if Eli and Jett are right on him the whole time? Does he keep his composure? Does he pull away? Does he lay it down? Like what? Like
Chase?
That's what I want to see.
Yeah. On Chase, you're asking, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, look, Chase rode a phenomenal race.
He did. Bike looks good. Yep.
Bike looks good. He was obviously in good headspace. It's only one round. I get it. It's only one round, but he rode well. But I will say, if we, and Aaron, we may have the clip of when he did stall it in that little elevated turn. Mm-hmm. Those are those little mistakes. Obviously, Eli going down, Jett having an off night. What if Eli didn't go down? What if Jett wasn't off on Saturday night? And then you have a little mistake like that stall, like he did. You have to mitigate those little mistakes, right? Like he was lucky enough that he had a little bit of a lead. And Kenny was able to obviously shrink that up when that happened, but he had a big enough lead prior to that to where it didn't affect him. And he was able to open that gap back up. But, that to me, I'm going to say is a little concerning just because we've seen in the past, those little mistakes happen with Chase. Now that being said, like I said, he rode a phenomenal Saturday night. And by far, I think was once he, got out of the gate there, he literally just started ticking off his laps and just putting a gap in between Kenny, then that little mistake. So to me, that's what needs to be, and it seems to be a thing, right? Like that isn't the first time that KTM has stalled. I'm going to have to do a little reconnaissance and ask why and figure out who I can ask why that keeps happening. Turn the idle up, I guess. I don't know. I mean, there's got to be ways to fix that, right? I mean, we can't afford it. We can't afford stalling it.
Yeah, Logan, I think that's a great question that Logan asked. And I think we're just going to have to see. I want to see that, and a great example. I'll go back in my day, dude. There were times where I rode great rides, but the only reason I won is because Chad crashed or he got a bad start or, had some bad luck or same for James, there's times where I absolutely killed it, but I wasn't as good as him. He fell down or he had an issue, what I'm saying? And I'm not taking anything away from the incredible ride and how well Chase looked. He looked awesome. Bike looked really, really good. Bike looked balanced. It looked like it was in the perfect part of the stroke. It looked like, as far as suspension goes, front, rear, it didn't look like it had too much pitch from front to back or back to front. Looked like he had maximum grip whenever he needed it. But the conditions, I mean, I don't think he was faced with the gnarliest condition as far as competitors go. And that's what I want to see. That's all.
Yep. No, for sure. That's
it changes the dynamic, dude. It does.
Totally does. And mentally for Chase, it will. And look, we're not trying to be hard on him. I would love to see what we just saw on Saturday night without that little mistake. Him show up to 17 more of these rounds and do the same thing, because if he can do what he did at Anaheim 1 in that main event, we're going to go down with 3 of these dudes fighting for the championship, if not more. But right now, the 3 that are pop into my head is obviously Chase, Eli, and Jett. Right, like if we can go down to last round with the 3 of them fighting it tooth and nail for the championship, I think that would be huge. I personally don't care who wins. Either way,
it don't change our life, does it?
No, not at all. So I know sometimes we bring that up, but it's only I guess just stating the facts, but also want some good racing. I'd love to see that Red Bull KTM and Chase up front till the very end and not have any of those little issues that robbed 2, 3, 5 points from him. And in the end, would that have changed would that have made the difference? Yeah.
I don't know. That's a great question for the Dunlop debate, but hey, he does say he has a new mentality. Chase does. Let's hear what that new mentality is.
Like I said, I'm only focused on what I can do, and I think that's my biggest difference from the years past. I've been focused on whatever everyone else is doing, and this year I really don't care. I'm just trying to be the best I can be on Saturday, and if that's winning, that's awesome. So
that's what I think we've talked about this on the show. I don't think he listens to the show, but I mean that's what you have to do, right? You take care of yourself. You can't control how some other dude races and how fast they're going to go. For the most part, they're going to do their thing. You worry about you and put in the best laps. Some days it's going to be enough and some days it's not, right?
Yep. Yeah, no, for sure. And on the bad ones, like you said, salvage whatever that is, second,
That's
third,
right.
inside that top 10. You can see where Eli finished. Obviously, first to I think Eli was fifth, right? Fifth, was he fifth over?
He was fifth. Yeah, he was fifth.
Right, and it was an 8 point difference. So good recovery for him. But like I said, inside that top 5 every single week is where you need to be.
A week of heartbreak and devastation here in the state of California and the Los Angeles area. And if you are able to make a donation and support the Red Cross Disaster Relief, you can visit redcross.org or call 1-800-RED-CROSS or text the word Red Cross to 90999 to make a $10 donation if you can. And again, our thoughts are with everybody affected because it has been simply devastating.
Hey, where are you at with Jett? James Kraft asks, why did Honda take the risk to change the 2024 CRF 450 if it was working so well? Well, it wasn't working well from what we had heard. That's why they changed it. But where are you at? Like I thought his balance looked like myself personally. Like the bike looked really light in the rear, driving the front looked twitchy in certain areas, and like it had no balance whatsoever. Like you would over rotate in the corners. When you try to get on the gas, like it would slip just that little bit coming out, and it's like what do you think they need to do? Like where are you at?
Yeah, well, first of all, good question, James Kraft. Here's the thing: is from the manufacturer standpoint, as we're watching Jett go through the whoops, get a little bit loose, comes into the sand, actually just slices Sabachi right off, and then goes down. These manufacturers, they can't stay stagnant, right? So yes, was the previous bike maybe better, whatever the case may be, but they're all striving to improve each model each year. And as we know, we these manufacturers typically run models from anywhere from 3 to 4 years, and then they have a new chassis change or motor or new technology or whatever the case may be. They're building these motorcycles from the consumer standpoint, not for guys like Jett. That's why when any chance you get to walk through the pits, you get up and close with these motorcycles. There's a lot of things that we do, engine hangers, stiffening, different triple clamps to have the stiffer, more rigidity feel. But the baseline of where that motorcycle starts off is to sell that motorcycle to the consumer, right? Mm-hmm. So we're able to do this amazing sport because of the following that we have from the consumer side. Yep. So that being said, I'll use Yamaha for an example. Like they went through some, 2010 when the reversed engine came out, like they struggled for quite a few years to figure out that chassis and make it better. And now they have. It took them a little bit of time, but now it's a phenomenal motorcycle. So from that standpoint, they can't stay stagnant. They have to keep improving those motorcycles because Yamaha's doing the same thing, KTM's doing the same thing, and some of them hit and some of them don't. Guys like Dazzy and Team Honda, the boys' dad, Jett Hunter's dad, Dazzy, and Lars, everybody at Honda, like they'll figure it out. Like it shouldn't take them super super long, but also
it'll be better this week,
I bet he is going to be better this week. They got that first one out of the way. And here's the other, like I had said before, the things that Jett are dealing with is different than what Chase is dealing with in his position. The mental capacity of still trying to raise that bar, but also, like I had said, not losing too is something you have in your head, like trying to keep that win streak or that the wins of championships going. So being that it was Anaheim one with all the hype, I think that we're going to see just a different Jett in general, regardless if the bike stays the exact same. I think he's going to be a better Jett and at San Diego or Anaheim too, right? Get a couple rounds into this thing, and then we can start really debating about what the hell is going on, or vice versa.
You're right. I do. Yeah, I think they're going to be better for sure. I mean, Honda has the resources, RV, you know that. And to all our listeners and viewers, I think they're going to be working quick. I think they're going to get some kind of remedy and get the balance better. I think they're going to be on the hustle for sure. And they have to.
RC, what about this? What if that's kind of the setup what they were expecting to come into Anaheim 1 with, meaning on those Hondas? Like typically Anaheim 1, I thought the track held up, and the way the track for the main events, both main events, was really well. It was really good track. It wasn't really dry yet. Like Anaheim 2 should see a completely set of conditions. But also typically Anaheim 1 gets a little more ruddy, gets a little more chattery, gets a little bit more braking bumps, breaks down a little bit more. We haven't had any rain here on the West Coast, so that dirt sits outside the stadium. Obviously, everybody knows we had those gnarly winds a week and a half ago. Dries all that stuff out. And what if they were expecting a different condition with that?
Well, I still think that the bike is off, like the balance is off. And when I watch certain bikes, and I know there's like this movement in the last year or so with extending the rear shock. I'm sure that you've heard about that. Everyone's going taller subframes and all that. And so foreign for me and you. Yeah, I understand the theory behind it. On paper, for sure, I think that it works better on paper. But when I watch some of these bikes, I almost look like they're setting them up because it works good on the dyno, and where you have maximum grip, not realistic conditions. But then when I watch the KTM Sextons, I almost look like they're not setting it up of how it would work on paper, and they're setting it up to how it would work for realistic, race conditions. Like maybe you set your bike up, and I that's what I feel like. Like they need to get back to basics and make it simple to a certain extent, and get something that works good that maybe isn't on paper. An example of that is, I think we talked about this, is like when they would do engine work and like, man, this thing works really well on the dyno. It has a shitload of horsepower and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, that's scary, because on the dyno, you have maximum grip. There's no wheel spin, so like most of the time, if it had too much power, it was uncontrollable. So that's kind of like what I'm saying with this, with how some of these bikes look set up. It's like they're so tall in the rear,
Yeah, tall, a little bit tall and a little free. They definitely are a lot from traditional. Like I'll use traditional, meaning me and you.
Yeah.
We would, and I know the bikes and chassis are much further along than what we raced and what we rode. And I can tell that, and you can tell that by riding your Triumph. I can tell that by taking my YZ250F or 450 right off the showroom floor and not having to touch it. So it's much, as a platform, it's much better.
Yeah.
But there is a happy medium with, there's a balance. There's a balance. It's bizarre that guys are adding millimeters to the shock, where typically we stole or took a millimeter out of the shock and cut the subframe a little bit. And I'm not saying that was right either. We were fixing a Band-Aid on that one, with what we were doing. But
100%. And dude, I'm not and dude, I'd be the first to tell you, I wouldn't recommend my setup and how I race to anyone, but even though it didn't work well on paper, it made me comfortable, right?
Yep.
And I could twist the throttle. And if I tried to set my bike up of how it should work technically on paper, I couldn't ride the thing.
Yep.
And that's just where I feel like you still have to go by the human element sometimes. And how does it feel to you? Not how it's supposed to feel. That's
yep. And practice tracks, they have so many laps on, let's use their track in Florida. Like, every little rut, little kicker, little transition of how steep the jump is. You get it like the back of your hand. And if you have something that is maybe a little bit looser, quicker rebound, that is, and you go to a track that you only have 3 sessions on before the heat race and then the main event, like you don't have that time to learn it like the back of your hand, and let alone now you're racing against 22 guys in a pack and amongst everybody with all of those different elements being thrown at you every millisecond of that race. As soon as the gate drops, that makes it sometimes hard. I think that if they were more comfortable, obviously on their setting Saturday night, that we might have saw a different outcome.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. It's go time. I do this so much. So outside of that, Jett's 12th place and Eli going down. I think Eli would have been epic. And like Eli looked so ticked on the podium when we talked to him, right? Because you know how it is, like at that level and how experienced Eli is. Probably, I mean, I know you would have been doing it. I would have been doing it to myself, just beating the hell out of yourself. Like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I fell in the most simplest place ever in the lead at A1. Right?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, no, for sure. I guarantee you, he just outright bummed. Like, as we watch him play again, like, because that would have been one really good race. That would have been an amazing race to see Chase bridge the gap between him and Prado, and then either make a run at Eli, or to see where to see what Eli had in the tank in a main event. Wow.
What'd you think of Prado, dude? But like, assess his ride.
So obviously main event was so, I would say. So great on one hand, because he made it out obviously without hitting the ground, having a big one, right? So that was, I think that's probably the top of the goal, is to make it through. Obviously a little crash here in the whoops, started to jump them. I didn't think they were necessarily jumpers at this point in the main event, but I got to watch this heat race, obviously, and yes, the track's a bit smoother and a lot easier to ride, but he looked comfortable during the heat race. I see the potential's there, right? The potential's there. 14th isn't what he obviously wanted to, especially starting, leading half a lap one, or however, whatever he led for a lap, 2 laps, and then falling back. But I think at that point, once a little mistake happened, got passed by a couple guys, then it was like the train had started coming through. And
dude, I felt bad for him. He was in the hornet's nest. Dude.
Tough spot, definitely tough spot to be in, right? Definitely a tough spot to be in, because no longer are you here racing, because like last year, right? No pressure, was only going to be here for three or so weekends. To get his feet wet. It was more of an exhibition fun thing. Yes, he wanted to do as well as he could have. Yeah. But now you're here, your mentality is different. Everything has changed. You're riding for a new team. They've hired you to come out and put their Kawasaki near the front. So just the whole dynamic of everything has changed for him. But I thought heat race was good. He had some good speed. I watched obviously time qualifying with him also. A little aggressive, maybe just a little out of his comfort zone, meaning just with everything, learning the track. You're here, you have a 17 race series that you're now signed up for. So all of that changes everything. So wasn't the weekend that I thought he would be. I predicted, what I predict for him is to be anywhere from that 5th through 8th. I don't think Anaheim 1 was that, but I was expecting around 8th through 10th Anaheim 1. So not as good as he wanted to, but he also had that fall. So I think we're going to see some good things from him. Obviously his starts are amazing. That was a tough first turn where they had started.
It narrowed up quick, dude.
It narrowed up, and it was a short first turn. Meaning a short straightaway into that first turn. So I also, we've had a lot of debate about, greats and the crashes in the first turns. As we're watching here, there's Haiden just getting a terrible jump, then was able to kind of sneak up into the middle. And now we're watching
Watch Anderson's front wheel. I don't
crazy.
know. Look at, dude, That is the save of the night right there. When I watched that thing, Aaron, roll that back again, the 451. When I watched his front wheel, look at this. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, dude,
And look, he goes flying through there. He hits Coop. And then he comes out and he's like, dude, he's like in third place. I'm like, what? How did this happen?
Yeah, it was a major salvage. Obviously, him and Jett came together. And he got that head shake, which obviously ended up pushing Jett into the tough blocks on the inside, and then he got hung up on those. And during all of that, Jason had lost a handful of spokes in the front wheel. I actually had heard that they zip tie those spokes, or they're zip tying them now, and for purposes of right there, right? If you end up getting the spokes, ripped out by the foot peg or however they come out. They're not going to wrap up in the hub or in the brake disc side if they're zip tied together. So pretty clever there. I'll have to keep an eye out and see if other teams are doing that. But I had heard that Cowie did that, so obviously that it worked in that scenario right there.
Yeah, they'll be copying for sure, the other teams for sure. All right, that's enough for the 450 for the sake of the time. And moving on to the United Motorsports moment of the night, which I thought was phenomenal. And we had him on the podcast. Moment of the night is Joe Shimoda's win.
Okay, you're Florida full time. Do you think that improved your game coming into this season, being on the East Coast with the different dirt and the track qualities on the East Coast?
Yeah, for sure. The track. Well, like I moved to Florida and the time really moved slow there. Like I start later. I mean, the people say, "What do you do off days?" But I'm like, train, and then by the time I get done training, it's like 4 or 5. So, but the track really stays nice. The good moisture, like a little bit sandy-ish. Yeah, just I think more realistic.
Yes,
I thought it was better than I thought over there.
Yeah, it was good having Joe. And as we're watching him here, just rode phenomenal, right? Like he like I had said early of the show, like I didn't expect Joe to start his season off like this. Now
because he hasn't ever. That's why, right?
Exactly. He hasn't started strong in quite a while, like nothing that I can remember. And that's been his biggest downfall, is starting off slow or not putting himself in a good position as the season starts. And then it kind of snowballs for the worst. And then he'll put a couple good rides together towards the end of the season. But now with this knocking down this Anaheim 1 win in that 250 class for Joe, his confidence level is obviously going to be much higher. I'm now interested to see what he can do with that, right? Like, is he going to be a first, second, third guy every single weekend? And that's obviously to be in this championship hunt in a short season, like 7-8 races that the 250 guys have in a class with Deegan. I hope he does it, because I'd love to see him up there and give him a run, give Haiden a run for his money.
Yeah, I think it'll. I like his demeanor. I think he, like his calmness, his disposition. I like that. I think it's great for Supercross. As far as being steady, I think it's awesome the improvement that he made. He got a good start, and this has been his Achilles heel of starting the season slow, and he did great. Did he have a little help? Of course he did. So, like you and I do on Title 24, you just have to bring it up. It'd be a little bit different situation if Haiden isn't on the ground, right? Yep. Did you expect anything? Like, was there any other than Joe? Were there anything that stood out to you in the 250 class?
Yeah, actually, Ryder D rode really well in practice, time qualifying. Also heat race, I think he ended up third-ish in the heat race.
Oh, he was in the mix all night.
He was, and what I was really stoked to see and we've been hard on him, right? I worked with Ryder for 6-8 months, and then obviously made the transition over to gas, and and Rockstar now. So obviously very similar motorcycle. But what I was super stoked to see was he made some really good passes. He was racing for positions, and like last year, I know it was his first year, and I had said this too, like. He could be one of those guys that just took that first season to just kind of like figure it all out, and from what I saw, Anaheim won with the hype, with the pressure that brings. He's a local kid here. He's from Bakersfield. So he got all of his family, friends, as you know, those races typically are a lot busier for you. If you're a local guy and not let alone Anaheim won, it's just busy in general. So he went through some guys. He made some great passes. He obviously got passed for third by Smitty towards the end of that 250 main. But to me, that was somebody that stood out, like that made big improvements and was solid. He looked good all day. He was quick. Now now it interests me, like, what can he do with that confidence and with that ride that he had on Saturday night, because he's a good kid. I like him. And I'd like to see him do well. So this is his time to shine, right? Is this whole season, this whole Supercross and outdoors?
Yeah, I think too.
For next year too.
I think too, like, once someone who has been a successful rider and racer throughout his amateur career, I would think that once he gets that feeling back again, he's going to continue to progress and race better, like what you're saying, like he did this weekend. And then those feelings of how he used to be and what we thought he could be will come back. Hopefully that's what I hope for him. I think he's a good kid, and I love to see. Yeah.
And his talent level is so high. That's the one thing with him is his technique, his riding, his skill, his skill. It's very, very high. So if he can get this right between his eyes and between his ears, which he's working with Davey Millsaps now.
And Juju, right?
Yep, him and Juju, right? Which obviously Juju had a phenomenal.
He looks good, dude, didn't he?
All day. Yep. So Davey's doing some good things with those two boys.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to see what Ryder can do, because I hope he keeps progressing in that direction.
So I think one of the most exciting things about the 250 main was the end with Coty, Shock, and Deegs. Like, I'm like, dude, this is Birmingham all over again. I thought that Shock was going to just put him in the cheap seats. I did, but he came up a little short. Like,
yes.
Oh man, I'm like, this is going to be payback of the century right here, and he just was a
little too nice. Did you see that middle double after they were coming back across the start straight? Yeah. Coty had ran it in, or Deegs had ran it in, and then Coty was able to just sneak around him out of the left-hander right before mechanics area there and go single over table right here, right there. A little bit of a bump, but Cody's able to go single over table, doubles, but then he doesn't get that double. Almost gets landed on, dude. Like, you see Deegs look over and boom, right there. So just the closing, like the speed by Haiden being able to do the quad into that turn and getting that double in between obviously made the difference right there. Like, it was just the gap was just a little too much. If Coty could have stayed a wheel closer to him, I think he would have been able to run him much higher or put him off into the bales.
Yeah, no doubt. Do you think you think that Haiden, you like what you saw from Haiden, his riding and stuff like that? I think it, I mean, obviously he doesn't go down it changes the complexity of the race for sure. But I think he looks good. He's riding well. And I mean, he's still one of the guys to beat,
No, totally. I think I watched a post-race interview, and he looked like, as we're watching him go down here, just doubled, singled, and then caught the guy's rear tire and just set him off balance. But I watched a post-race interview with him, and I think it was a different. I thought it was a little bit different, like, attitude of Haiden, where it was more like, I think he obviously, if he starts up front with Joe, I think he probably wins, right? Like you said, Ricky. But I also think that it was a little bit of like a self-check, right? Like he he wasn't as, let's see, cocky. He wasn't like, I got these guys, no problem. It was more of like, hey, the field's deep. I know it's deep. I made a mistake. We came out of here with 5th, got good points. Like, I'm healthy. Now let's see. Anaheim 1's over. The hype's over. Now let's move to round 2. And then, so which could be almost a scary thing for the rest of the field, because now it's almost like, okay, he's really going to put his nose to the grindstone feeling.
Yeah. Yeah. And listen, dude, we're all human. And maybe you just, he's like, okay, I'm a mere mortal here. And like, it's just, back down to reality. Not saying he wasn't in reality, but yeah, it's just like this sport can humble you real quick, and like, dude, you just stupid, silly stuff like what happened that first turn can happen. You're like, oh crap. Okay. I got to buckle down and get back to work. You know what I mean? And I'd say,
yeah, I mean, look, you can see where he's coming around the first turn, like obviously not in a great position, mid pack. Right there, Ryder gets the rear tire of Ryder, what puts him down. But then on the other side of it too, you got to look at it and say, like, man, okay, we made it out, healthy. But being that when you go down in the first, call it 100 feet or so of the track is a pretty, obviously is a sketchy part to go down. What everybody knows that you're amongst 22 riders. So to make it out healthy is another, like, I think feather in the cap too. Like, okay, good. We just dodged a bullet. One little direction change from one of the riders and they run over him or run over his hand or arm or whatever, that could totally change the season. So I think it was maybe a little bit of a, I don't want to say reality check, because I think we're going to see a different Haiden when Anaheim 2, San Diego.
Yep. Yeah. It definitely, it wasn't a reality check. No, for sure. Quad lot question of the week. You kind of touched on this already. But the winner is Brad AU 456. Congratulations, Brad. You are the winner of the quad lot question of the week here after A1. So Brad says, Deja Vu 2013 Honda has potentially introduced a bike worse than the model before. How about the new model only comes out in the Works edition, so they have a choice to swing back to last year's geometry on the standard model? There's a lot there. So first of all, like, they can go back to the 2024 model if they want to, right? Like, there's no rule that says that they can't.
Yes, technically there's no rule. Now,
that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Politically, yes, there might be a rule there politically inside of
I raced a 1998 KX250 chassis in 2001.
Yep.
And so you can go back on chassis and stuff. So there's a great question. I think a lot this week's going to determine a lot. Do they go back to what they had last year, geometry wise? I mean, maybe I'm sure there's some parts and pieces on the bike, maybe that they still need to sort out and get right. Maybe the new parts and pieces just need some more time of adjusting. I don't know, but I guarantee I would bet a lot that there's some consideration of bringing the 2024 package back. I would think that's across the table. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, I think if it's not off the table, put it this way: if they can't sort this out within the first 3 rounds, right, then and they're losing ground and they're still not where they want to be, then that's like a game, call it game time decision. Like, let's go after Anaheim 2. We haven't figured this thing out. We've had 3 rounds. Do we go back to back our old setup with our new setup and kind of see where we're at? Now that opens up, they don't have a lot. Yes, they have a lot of time on it, but a year ago time, like it's not like that setting and what they're going to get from the previous model. Are they right now familiar with it? They were familiar with it, but they're not right now familiar with it because they've been on the new platform and they've been on the newer bike for months now and raced it overseas. And so that's going to have its own set of learning curves too, right? Like, just because they won with that package, then what if Eli's bike is 10% better? What if Chase's bike is 20% better? And now they've bridged the gap or even passed that, last year's setup or older model. Right. So, I mean, there's a lot of things that you have to think about.
I messed up. Me and Fonseca messed up RV, and maybe they'll get into a situation like this. And it was about the third round where like abort mission right now. We got to go back, like pull that 2002 bike out on Monday, and we need to ride. It was after Phoenix, and we pulled out there. Like they brought our 2002s out, and we had our 2003s out. And it had nothing to do with the chassis. It was all engine stuff because the chassis is pretty much the same. And we had went down this road in the off season from an engine package, and they improved it in some areas where we needed to improve, make it a little more like the YZ. And long story short, it was unrideable, unraceable. I say unrideable, unraceable, but it was hindering our performance for sure. Like losing half a second, quarter of a second a lap over a 20 lap main event. Couldn't make the suspension work. It was just, the power was too aggressive. Okay. And so after Phoenix, we went and we rode our 2002 engines, and both Ernie and I, like we did 5, 6, 10 laps, and we both came back like, oh my gosh, dude, this thing is, it's not as fast, but it's 10 times more rideable. And so, and Cliff White at the time, dude, he got so upset with us and so mad. We had to go to the principal's office because, they had ordered all these new parts and pieces.
Yep.
Probably, hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of equipment to get ready for the year. And he's like, next time that we ever do testing like this, you guys need to focus more, and you need to be 100% sure that this is direction that we're going, and we're not going to be wasting all this kind of time, effort, and money ever again, dude. I'm going to get some more parts and pieces for the 2002 to get us through the season, but you've put me in a really, really tough position. I felt bad for him, but at the end of the day, we went back to the 2002 setup, and we started getting better results instantly. So maybe that's something that they do. I mean, they have to consider everything. That's my opinion. That's a great question, Brad. It's going to be interesting. Like RB said, if they get three, if they're not seeing some serious upside, I think by the end of the week, I think that they're gonna have to make some tough decisions and go back with what you had and try to improve on that is what I would do.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
At least get back into a baseline, right? At least pull it out, like you said, and figure out what needs to be changed, what's different about each of the platforms, and what makes one better than the other, easier to ride than the other, and maybe that'll help them pinpoint what they need to work on the new platform.
Hey, props to Malcolm Stewart, dude. He got off big,
dude.
In that heat race. Here's a replay. Just the rear end gets light, the thing starts swapping to the right, to the left, gets ejected. Looks like he lands on his right hip. Pow! I mean, nasty. I'm so glad that he gritted it out. I mean, that dude he's tough. So it's cool to see.
That's one thing that's one thing from the Stu Bros, man. They never go down easy.
he did. That Stu was telling me, he's like, we're built to hit the ground, dude. He did. I'm like, come on, don't say that about yourself. And he's so good job, Malcolm. Like that couldn't have been easy. It sucks to start the season off that way.
Totally.
But you know what Stu was telling me? He's like, it might take a little bit of pressure off of him. Now he can kind of just go out there and ride, and however he does is however he does. So anyhow, all right. So last thing, moving into San Diego for the Box O breakdown. What are you looking? Give me what you're looking, what you'll be looking forward to. Break it down for us for the 450s and the 250s. What is your eye going to be on?
Well, it looks like we're going to have very similar weather to what we had Saturday night, so that'll be good. We're going to have a dry winter, it looks like, out here on the West Coast, not like we've had the past two. So obviously I'm going to be looking at to see what Hunter and Jett have either resolved or the direction change that they have made. So we'll be tuning in to that very closely. Also Chase, if he can keep that going, to what that performance that he just had Saturday night, if he can do that, if not improve the performance, get rid of that little mistake. If he shows up even better because of the confidence that came from that Anaheim 1 win. And then Eli is I've said it in the past, on the past couple shows that, not that I was never not an Eli fan, but I think I'm one of his bigger fans now, to see what he can do in this last stage of his career. It started off great, obviously, at Anaheim 1, and just pushed the front wheel there. Made that mistake, came back to 8th. So I'll be interested to see what happens after Saturday night at San Diego, and where all the chips and where the cards fall. As you know, Ricky, we've said it 1,000 times, if not more. These guys' championship season, we always look towards Daytona as like our halfway or our point in the season where we're like, okay, who's in it and who's not in it. We can't sleep on Coop either.
Nope.
I think Coop's one of the ones that I think will build. So I don't know, obviously probably not the performance or the night he wanted Anaheim 1. But he's one you can't count out either, so I think it's going to be really interesting, really fun to watch. The three that we have right now, Jett and Eli and Chase. Yeah. Those are the two that I have my eye on, or the three that I have my eyes on to see where those chips and where those cards fall. What can they uncover and rocks can they move this week for the ones that are struggling and for the ones that are obviously in a good position, like Chase?
Yep. 100%. I couldn't say it any better. That's exactly what I'll be looking for. Now there's a storyline and a lot of racing left. I think that we're going to see a lot of better things from some guys that maybe we didn't see at A1. So I don't ever want it to come across negative, but I don't know. There's a lot of things I don't put a lot of merit into for A1, because there's so many things change. You get 3, 4, 5, 6 races down the line. So, but it'll be interesting to see, Jett, how he does. And like you talked about Eli, I think Eli's going to be solid as a rock. I mean, you eliminate that mistake, he's right in there. So I don't think you're going to see many things like that the rest of the year from him. He's just too good and too polished. And see if Chase can continue on those epic rides that he had. It was fantastic. I think we're going to see a different Deegan. Can Juju perform the same way that he did? Or our guest that we had on, with Joe, can he continue to get those good starts in the main and run up front and pressure those guys? Only time will tell. So that's the breakdown of what I'm looking forward to. Dude, have you watched the rally at all, Dakar Rally?
I haven't watched any of the Dakar. No, I have not. How we looking? How's Braybeck?
Braybeck's he's 30 minutes and 56 seconds back. I think he's going to need some help. Chucky Daniel Sanders is just he's rolling along, dude.
It's incredible. That race is incredible.
I don't want to jinx him, he's in it. It's like he's in another zone. It's cool to see. Yeah. It's cool to see because he's got a bunch of talent. So it's great for the Aussie fans. That's for sure.
I watched a clip of Ricky going through the desert, one hand. He must have been
did you see that?
Getting his hydration or maybe eating something. I don't know what it was. It was a behind shot, but just by the looks of the bike and the jacket and everything else, probably, I don't know, 60, 70, 80, 90 mile an hour, one-handed. He hits a little bump in the road or whatever it was, and the thing starts to just walk on him, at that speed, and didn't even grab the bars. like it was just, nope, keep doing what I'm doing. Just stay in it and just stay tucked. And those guys have some big balls. I'll say it.
They do. You can, dude, it's super easy. You can go on Peacock and go to the NBC Sports Now channel on Peacock and check it out. Like we've been doing it, Caden and I. We've been watching it every evening. It's like a 1 hour show. You can see right there, 8 p.m. Eastern every night. Get a rundown of the Dakar Rally, and they show some good clips in there and get some good interviews. I like it. It's good stuff. So go out there when you ain't doing anything. You're not out at the track.
Time is the problem. I was at the track all day yesterday, and then had to do bike work and wash and do all that. So maybe tonight I'll turn it on. You're
supposed to be retired, bro.
Yeah, well, starting this whole process over again with my two.
I hear you. Well, it was a good pod, Joe. Thank you for coming on. Hopefully everyone likes that. We did a little special edition there. So we'll have that as well for you. Looking on down the road, San Diego this weekend. It's going to be great. Here's the details. Make sure you check out SMX Insider this Thursday, 2 p.m. Eastern on the YouTube channel. Saturday, 3 p.m. race day live. Practice and qualifying starts 8:30 p.m. Eastern time. SMX World Championship in San Diego. Snapdragon. I believe it's still Snapdragon. That'll be on Peacock. And then the encore presentation on CNBC at 1 a.m. Eastern time of San Diego. So if you find yourself waking up and you're not sleeping or you're on the night shift, check it out on CNBC. You'll be able to watch San Diego. So there you go. Appreciate all our partners. United Motorsports, Quad Lock, Boxo, Dunlop. You guys are awesome. RV, what do you got cracking for the rest of the week?
Rest of the week, we got, if it doesn't get canceled, Paris Mini Night tomorrow, and then we're going to do a little arena cross riding on Wednesday, and then riding Saturday, and then racing Sunday. So be busy.
Dude, there you go. Remember, we got the live show coming up.
That's right.
Before A2, Thursday before A2. We'll be making some posts about that. Details, there it is, right there. Title 24 live show, January 23rd at 6 p.m. in Rancho Cucamonga at the Dunlop headquarters out there, right?
Yep.
So we'll send you a link to get your tickets and all that. It's limited capacity, so make sure you get it quick, guys, because it's going to be gone before you know it. So looking forward to doing that. You guys can listen to us on Peacock. We're on demand there all the time. Motorsports on NBC's YouTube page, and of course all the podcast applications on any one of your favorites, whatever you want to listen to, Spotify, you name it, we're on there. So we appreciate it. I'm going to go out. I'm in Breckenridge. My kid's junior ski trip is out here.
Nice.
So I'm going to try to keep the shiny side up today. And I was supposed to meet him at 10:30 at the lift, but I told him, they were texting me while we were doing our podcast here. Like, are you still 10:30? I'm saying, nah, it's going to be 10:45. So
that's right. Get your gear on there, bud.
All right. Thanks for all the support, you guys, RV and I. We appreciate it. Dude, fan engagement was out of this world this week, so we appreciate y'all, and thanks for tuning in.
Hi folks, Lee Diffie from NBC Sports here. If you truly enjoyed what you just watched, you can get more news, interviews, and highlights by subscribing to the Motorsports on NBC YouTube page. You can get it all, so go for it.